us come out. This is, like Paul said, this is our first year sponsoring RMDA. We actually joined RMDA last year as an RDS service provider. We started, like, you know, I've heard stories from a lot of you guys, how y'all started out. We started out as a service provider, started out running operations and logistics and doing things for local communities. And we started looking at our technology and our platform and what we did and how we could use that technology and platform to kind of spread our model around to other folks. And so we hooked up with RMDA. I talked to Paul a couple of months ago. I flew up to New Jersey. I had some meetings up there in New York, and I went down and saw him, and we talked about, you know, what we do. And so, you know, he suggested we come out and give you guys a presentation. And what I was trying to figure out, how do you tell somebody what you do in 5 or 10 minutes or 15 or 20 or however long y'all let me stand up here. And so I thought I would try to, you know, explain our business model and our concept with stories. You know, I'm from the South. Y'all already know that. Somebody said earlier that they thought I was from Texas. I'm not. Then somebody said, no, you speak slower than people from Texas, and maybe I do. But we loved, in the South, we love sports. And I love rooting for underdogs. I like the idea of somebody coming out of nowhere and beating the guy or the team or the person that nobody thought they could beat. And so, you know, I started thinking about, you know, what do we talk about? And the first thing I thought about was this picture from the 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney, Australia. And I don't know if y'all know who these guys are. The guy on the left is a little fella from Wyoming. His name is Rulon Gardner. He went to the Olympics to wrestle for the United States. And the guy on the right is not such a little fella. His name is Alexander Karelin. He's from Russia. And you can tell just by looking at this picture that Alexander Karelin ain't worried about Rulon Gardner. There's nothing about him that's scared, and he shouldn't have been. For 13 years, Alexander Karelin had been undefeated in international competition. For the last 7 years before this Olympic event, he had not even been scored upon in a wrestling match. He was born to win. He was 15 pounds when he was born. I mean, enormous. To prove a point, at one point in his wrestling career, he toted a refrigerator by himself up 8 flights of stairs. I mean, he was an absolute beast. Rulon Gardner was a farm kid. He had missed the previous Olympic trials by 22 seconds because he was being treated for a staph infection. He had never been higher than 5th in the world in wrestling. There was no scenario where Rulon Gardner could beat Alexander Karelin. There was no sports analyst, there was no pundit, there was no anybody anywhere that ever gave Rulon Gardner a chance until the end of that match. And that kid beat the unbeatable. He beat Karelin and he didn't annihilate Karelin. He beat him by 1 point, but that was all it took. That was all it took for Rulon Gardner to do what nobody thought could ever be done, and it was beat Alexander Karelin at wrestling. And so when I thought about the Olympics, and I thought about some of the great stories out of the Olympics, the next Olympics I thought about was the 1980 Olympics, Lake Placid, New York. And you probably know what I'm going to say before I say it, but Miracle on Ice. And this is cool for a lot of reasons. It's cool because it's another story where we beat the Russians. I'm not sure if there's Russians here. I don't mean to offend you. But we beat them, and we always love that. That's always great for us. But the other thing that's cool about this is we work with a marketing firm, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that if you stop by and talk to us, or some of you we've already talked to. But our marketing firm that's helping us with this initiative is out of Lake Placid, New York. They actually work with the Miracle on Ice charity foundation. They do an event with them every year. But you know, when you go back and you look at the story of Miracle on Ice, the U.S. Olympic Committee did something in 1980 that they had never done before. They seeded the youngest ever amateur Olympic hockey team to go to the Olympics in 1980. All of them were amateurs, most of them were college kids, and some of them had never played competitive hockey until they made this U.S. Olympic team. They went up against a team of Russians that had won the past 4 Olympic gold medals. The last one that they lost was in 1960 to the United States. And after they lost to the United States in 1960, they won the next 4 Olympic gold medals. They didn't just win them, they annihilated their competition. They ran over them like they weren't even there. The year before this Olympics, this hockey team from Russia played the NHL All-Star team for the United States. They beat them 6-0. 2 weeks before this Olympics, this hockey team played the exact same amateur U.S. Olympic team that they were going to face in the Olympics in an exhibition match in Madison Square Garden. They beat them 10-3. So there was no scenario, there was no situation where this team was ever going to win until they did. And at the end of this match, and I don't know if y'all heard the recording, if y'all read the news about it, but the announcer on this was a sports broadcaster. His name's Michaels. You've probably heard of him. And he's screaming in the microphone that you believe in miracles. He wasn't talking about Russia. He was talking about the United States. He was talking about this team of misfit kids out of nowhere that came out and beat the unbeatable. They beat the team that nobody could touch. And they did it in a way that nobody thought they could do it. But when I started thinking about all the stories that I like the most, and the ones that I really think are the greatest of all time, this is my favorite. And no, this first picture is not sports, but you know the scenario. You know you've been out, you've been at a fair, you've been wherever, and you know you think at some point, I kind of got to go to the restroom, but I don't want to go there. And you keep thinking, I'm gonna wait, and in a minute I'm gonna go, or I gotta go turns into I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna go right here because I don't have a choice. And why this is inspiring to me, not because I've been in one of them a lot of times, but why this is inspiring to me, you heard of the Boston Marathon. You heard of the story from the 2018 Boston Marathon this year. It's two ladies from the United States. The United States had a great showing in the marathon this year. They had 7 compete and win in the go in the top 10 of the Boston Marathon. But we had a lady named Shalane Flanagan and Desiree Linden that came out with a great story. Desiree Linden is the lady that won, if you remember the end of the event. First American to win the Boston Marathon in 33 years. Not only was the first American to win in 33 years, she almost won 7 years ago in 2011. She lost by 2 seconds. And so she's back 7 years later. And the reason that this story to me is so great is because whoever plans to run in a marathon, and I hadn't run in many, you can probably look at me and tell, whoever plans to run in a marathon and stop and go to the bathroom in the middle. I don't know, but I would think that's a bad day. You get up that morning, it's raining, the weather was awful, and all of a sudden, Linden, the lady that won, leaned over to Flanagan and said, hey, I don't think I can finish. I'm sick. I don't think I can keep running. She said, but if you need me to stay and help you, I'll stay, and I'll help you get through with the race. And after she told Flanagan that, Flanagan peeled off to the right, and she went to the porta potties and left Linden by herself. And what did Linden do? Linden slowed down. She slowed down to wait on Flanagan. She slowed down to give Flanagan an opportunity to go to the bathroom, to get out, to catch up with her, and then for them to run together as a team and catch the lead pack. And so when they worked together and they got to the end of the race, that's Desiree Linden, the first American in 33 years, female, to win the Olympics. And she gave a lot of interviews after the Olympics. She's been all over the news, she's been all over the talk shows, she's been all over everywhere. And they asked her, how did they do it? And she talked about something called drafting. She said, when Flanagan got out of the bathroom, we ran together and we drafted off each other. I ran in the front, she ran in the back. I blocked the win for her, she blocked the win for me. And when I think about drafting, I can't think about anything but NASCAR. And if you've ever watched a NASCAR race, if you're a fan, you know that this is what they call drafting. You know that this is the ultimate display of teamwork in NASCAR. This guy in the front is pulling the guy in the back. The guy in the back is pushing the guy in the front. The guy in the back is actually doing what we call bump drafting. He's giving the guy a little bit of nudge, saying, move on faster. And why do they do that? Because it gives them an advantage. Why do they work together when they're on opposite teams? Because it gives them an advantage. It's the only way they can separate themselves from the pack. It's the only way that they can get ahead. That's what AsystYou is about. A lot of people have come up to us and they've asked us, what do you do? We're technology. But we're not just technology. We're more than a technology company. We've got front end, we've got mobile, we've got logistics, we've got automated dispatch, we've got manual overrides, we've got all of those things. But we've got a whole team and a network of people that we put together with one goal and one goal in mind, and that is to work with you as a team, to increase your chances to succeed, which increases our chances to be competitive. When you look at all the interviews that Desiree Linden gave after the Boston Marathon, the one thing that she said that stuck in my mind is when you work together, you never know what's going to happen. With AsystYou, we want people to work with us. We want to work with you. Because we've talked about it for the last 24 hours yesterday. Everybody's talked about DoorDash. Everybody's talked about Uber Eats. Everybody's talked about Amazon Restaurant. Everybody's talked about Postmates. And what do they have? They got a war chest of money. They got a war chest of advertising. They got a war chest of marketing. And how do you beat that juggernaut? How do you beat that machine that's just out there trying to annihilate everybody in their path? You work together. You come together as a team. There's a saying called strength in numbers, and there is strength in numbers. If you go up against a big guy by yourself, are you going to win? Probably not. If you go up against a big guy with a team, maybe it's a team of misfits, maybe it's a team of college kids, maybe it's a farm boy from Wyoming. But you build a team and you work together, and that's how you succeed. That's what we're for. That's what AsystYou is about. We're not just one piece. We're not just one component. We're building a network to create that entire team to move this ahead. And the last thing I'll leave you with is the last thing that Linda said in that interview was helping her help me. You know, what we want to instill in our customers and what we want to instill in our partners is that we're not working against each other. We're not trying to beat the other guy. We're trying to help the other guy. We're trying to help everybody be better, do everything that we can to move this industry ahead and help us all compete against those big guys. So we're at the booth. I know y'all have seen us. We're giving away a laptop. If you haven't brought us your card, bring us your card and drop it in there. We're going to give the laptop away towards the end of the day. We've also got some jump drives that have some more information on it. Maybe you did a little better job explaining things than I did standing up here hoarse after donating money to Vegas for a whole weekend. So if y'all got questions, I'll be glad to take them.